Dugout Nation, welcome to the Dugout CEO podcast. Today we have the OG Dugout CEO, Kris Dehnert. Kris is the co-founder and CEO of Dugout Mugs, who has generated $65 million in online sales. He is also the founder of Dehnert Media Group and has found success in numerous verticals, including real estate, apparel, and hard goods. And he's been really focused on e-commerce and social media. The entire show is fantastic, and he's going to walk us through his start as an entrepreneur, how he built Dugout Mugs into a great business, and well as dropping some serious rapid-fire wisdom during our Chin Music segment. We also have a special gift for our listeners as well, so be sure to listen to the entire episode for the special offer. Kris, welcome to the Dugout CEO.
What's going on?
So, funny story, my assistant actually came up with a name for this podcast, and I was like, okay, I love it, but there's already got to be a Dugout CEO out there. So we start Googling Dugout CEO, and the only person that comes up is you. And I'm like, okay, you're the Dugout Mugs CEO, but you don't have a podcast. Can we get away with it? And here you are as a guest. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, dude, it was perfect. I was like, look at this thing, a Dugout CEO. And then we connected, and yeah, here I am.
Yeah, and I've been using your mugs, giving them away as gifts for years now, and super cool to have you here. And you got a great story, and excited for the listeners to learn. And you've built an amazing business, been part of 9 businesses now. And I just want our listeners to learn from somebody that's kind of been there, done that as a husband, a father, a business owner, an entrepreneur, kind of doing it all. So let's jump in. Let's talk about baseball first, Kris. Like baseball background, tell us about it.
So my baseball background, I actually played going up to high school. I actually didn't play in high school. I had an injury to my knees where I ended up playing more golf than anything. But I was, I'm a big guy. Back then I was probably 260, 6 foot, 260, pretty solid. So it was going to be football, and I played baseball as catcher, first base, cleanup. I had some talent. It wouldn't have taken me very far, not like some of the guys, but that was my experience there. But my sport really became business, man. Halfway through high school, I always found some kind of hustle and some kind of deal and some kind of thing I was launching. And life's funny. Sometimes you can't fight it. You just gotta roll. Roll with it.
Yeah.
Sports didn't end up being my thing, and then here we are all these years later, and it quite certainly is.
Yeah. So let's talk about all these other businesses that you got going leading up to, Dugout Mugs. So your first business, tell us about like your very first one.
Well, if we go all the way back, it was actually when I was a kid. I was, about, I guess I was about 9 or 10 years old, and we didn't have a lot. And so anything I would go make, I would that's how I got my money, is I would go make things. So probably the most lucrative is, I remember after school, I would drive up to like the phone store. They had all that extra wire left over, right? So if you split it open, it had all the colors. So I would wrap up all this colorful wire, and I would take it down to school, and I'd sell it to all the girls that were making the bracelets and the earrings and things like that. So my cost of goods was like literally nothing, just the time to go get it. That was a fun one. I used to make pencils, with that game where you break the other person's pencil. Remember that game back in the day in school? So I would create these super pencils where they were lacquered, and they had a little bar through the middle of it. Like, it was crazy. Like an old hanger would go down through the middle, but then I'd sell these things at $5-7 a piece. I was always hustling, but as a grown up, I quickly realized school wasn't for me. And I started at Gold's Gym, and I was, top sales for every month for years. And then the gym industry is a wonderful, wonderful industry, but I realized I had to break away and do my own thing. So that's when I got into real estate, and I was doing real estate coaching programs and things like that. But really, even back to Gold's Gym days, what really was the catalyst for me was, I'm in my 40s, I'm in my early 40s, and I understand the belly to belly sales and the thing that the lost art now. But I understood that, but I was born at the front side of this new website called Facebook. And, as I was transitioning into a businessman, Facebook just showed up. So I was leveraging Facebook for the gym signups. I could do one to many, which is the essence of social and the internet, one to many, but I still kept that one-to-one vibe which was a really unique combination. A lot of people like said, I'm not doing the internet. And then the others were like, well, I'm not going to be personable. I'm just going to play a numbers game. I kind of found the middle. And that really was the piece that I've been able to identify looking back that allowed me to really, really take off. I had social media management companies. I was in the restaurant business, the cannabis business, apparel. I had a really good apparel company for about 3 years. So, when I look back, it all kind of tied around that kind of hybrid.
So all these businesses that you were in, like, what is your superpower as an entrepreneur that allowed you to create all these amazing businesses?
People skills. Again, it's a lost art, but I think people skills are your network and your ability to network and your ability to listen with the intent to help versus listen with the intent to reply. Because so often people in a conversation are only thinking about what their next statement will be and not really paying attention to what's coming at them. And I think my ability to really understand what someone needs and what they're looking for and how to help them, that's been a really big piece of that. And just being, because that's sales. I mean, sales, you solve problems for profit. That's all we're really doing, and identifying where someone's problem is and how to create a win-win situation is just paramount, man.
Why is it the world that we're in, we're often, okay, I'm just listening, but I'm not really listening. I'm just figuring out the next thing I need from you or the next thing I'm going to say. Like, why do people do that?
Selfishness. They don't see the big picture. There's no long game anymore. It's a lot of everybody's playing the short game, the immediate gratification, the post now, and I didn't get 50 likes, I'm deleting the picture. It's like it's a sickness that really goes through. It transcends into everything. It bleeds into everything. But I feel like there's a lot of lack of connection, true connection, and I think that's why there's so much, what's in it for me, mentality. When you break away and realize, so one of the things I love to say is to create a win-win situation, it doesn't always require the same currency. So if you ask enough of the right questions, what'll happen is you'll be able to identify something that they need and then also the thing that you need, and they're not often the same thing, right? So that makes doing a deal really easy. But I don't think people are asking enough of the right questions, and they're too self-centered with what they're asking and why they're asking it.
Well, it's crazy. People have always asked, well, how do you get all these cool, amazing guests to come on? And I'm like, I just ask, because for years, I wasn't really asking for anything from anyone. I was asking them, what can I do for you? And I'm guessing if I just reached out cold to you, it probably would have taken years to get a hold of you, right? You're a CEO of a giant business. But since we got a warm introduction, here you are on the show. And I did that because the person that connected to us, I just gave value and gave value and gave value. And I think what you said earlier, they're losing sight of the long game. That's so true. It's like they're trying to win the baseball game, but it's the third inning and they're trying to hit a grand slam and there's two guys on base. Like, it's just not possible. But if you focus on a relationship first, that's really good. Is it because people are stressed out or they're trying to figure out a way to make money quickly? Or like, why is everybody not able to stay focused on the long game or focus on relationship first before opportunity?
I don't think they were taught. I don't think they were taught to value relationship. I don't think they were taught to, that this whole generation that's coming out right now. And I can say that being in my 40s and I'm looking at people in their 30s and certainly people in their 20s, they're just built different. And it's not wrong. It's just different. So sometimes the advice that I give and sometimes the methods, which have been very successful for me, they can't wrap their head around, mainly because generation after generation are being taught different things. They're being taught different values. I come from a place where your network is your net worth, right? So everything I do is built with the intention of strengthening relationships. Just recently, Jesse Cole owns the Savannah Bananas, really cool baseball team out of Savannah. If you've not seen them, check them out; they're amazing.
Sure.
But I found Jesse's favorite guy. He had a couple like muses, Walt Disney, just the mind of Walt Disney, just amazed Jesse, and then also P.T. Barnum. Barnum Bailey Circus, right? Like this guy's an entertainer, and Jesse is just the entertainer. So anyway, long story short, I ran into a baseball card of P.T. Barnum, which is rare. Like you're not going to find with those, mint condition. It was really cool. So I got it and I sent it to Jesse and said, "Hey man, saw this, thought about you," right? Little things like that. I feel like they impact the relationship far more than something financial. Right? Like he did a personal video and sent it to me, thanking me. Then he did a personal video and sent it out to all of social media and tagging me in it. And then he sent me a text and he said, "Hey man, next time you're in Savannah, please bring the family out. I'd love to have you guys at the game." Right? Like, what do you think that he's going to remember who I am next time I call him or text him, no matter how big they get? Right? I feel like those are the moments that you have to keep your eyes open for. Realize not what's important to you, but what's important to them. And then what can you do that impacts that? Like that's what, a great saying that, I speak on stage, somewhat regular and, at least a handful of times a year. And one of the things I say is it's not who you know, but it's who knows you. And there's a big distinction between those two things. And the who knows you happens by moments like that, by actions like what I just described.
And we're just so busy trying to get that next kind of quick high that we're not, or a sugar buzz, that the sugar buzz or the sugar rush is going to wear off. And all of a sudden it's just temporary, where if we can focus on building long-term relationships, it'll take us far. So that's obviously one of the main reasons that you've been able to build all of these great companies, is the people skills and all of that. What else? What are your other kind of entrepreneurial superpowers?
Sales. I'm a closer. I mean, plain and simple. I understand the intricacies of sales, the strategies of sales, but I can do it seamlessly. I've been doing it for a long time. So I can do it seamlessly while smiling, while showcasing personality, and people walk away like, "I like that guy. Like, I want to do business with that guy." Right. And I feel, and again, it comes down to relationship. If I went into it, every conversation with what's in it for me only, it's obvious, right? You can't hide that. So I feel like that, I'm a closer. That certainly helped. And then also I'm a creative, I'm a creative individual. So, whether it be, my golf brand that I have a cigar line, Dugout's obviously our baby, this one we've been running with for 7 years now, Randall and I, but all these different things, really creative outside of the box marketing. I feel like being really creative from a marketing perspective has taken me a long way. Right. And then more recently, I would say reflection. I don't think enough people are doing that. I'm not one of these guys that say, "Oh, sit down and journal for 30 minutes a day," or make sure you meditate in the morning. It's like, I don't do it, so I'm not going to say other people to do it, but I understand why people do it. Right. And for me, I have the opportunity and the windows throughout the day to reflect and be grateful. And something, as simple as catching a green light when you're in a hurry somewhere, when you drive under it, say, "Man, I appreciate that." Just learn and practice appreciation and learn and be grateful for things as they happen. I feel like that has been a huge piece to my success, because it wasn't always like that. And I feel like this transition from being this crazy warrior into more of a, the statesman kind of vibe, that transition, it doesn't happen for everyone. And oftentimes it takes well into someone's life and career for that to happen. But reflection will allow you to get to that point sooner. And I had a situation in my life where I got really sick unexpectedly, and almost didn't make it. Like there was a 30% chance I wasn't going to make it, and that was plenty big enough for me to change my perspective on things and appreciation of time and appreciation of good business partners and things like that. So I think reflection in general is a daily practice that we should all do. And what happens is then you start making decisions in your business based on alignment, not on profitability. And when you're in alignment, what happens when you're in alignment? What happens when all your boxes are checked? You're making money, right? They walk hand in hand.
It's really good. So your superpowers, I was kind of setting you up a little bit, Kris. You got any kryptonite out there and like things that hold you back? And how have you been able to work around, okay, you got your strengths. And as an entrepreneur, we're told, hey, focus on your strengths, delegate your weaknesses. What are some of the things that you're maybe not so great at? But then how have you been able to surround yourself with others or build a team that still allows you to make sure those things, those kryptonite really don't come back and get you?
Well, it comes back to reflection. Again, you have to understand what you're good at and more importantly, what you're not good at, because spinning your wheels, doing things you're not good at, best case scenario, you did a half-assed job of it and it took more time than it should have. And you're annoyed. Like, not a good scenario. I have reflected on what is important to me, what I stand for, what I don't stand for, things like that. So what I've learned to do is build companies and build positions and build brands that align with those metrics, right? Some of my metrics are, can I have fun with my friends? Is it experiential? Does it take time away from my family? Things like this. So, because some of my kryptonites are and have been the shiny object syndrome, overworking, things that have bitten me in the ass over the years are some of these. So now what I build, I build it with that in mind.
To make sure that those things don't take away from those things, correct?
Right. Right. You can't fall victim to shiny object syndrome if you're extremely clear about what is and isn't important to you. Very rarely will something come across my plate that checks all the boxes. And if it does, I'll take a look at it, right. But one of the things that got me a lot is I was good enough to be good enough. Right. And so a lot of things would come across my plate and I became a yes man. And what happened is it gobbled up my time, my focus, my energy, my money, everything, because you're chasing everything, because I was good enough to get most things done. Whereas when you kind of look back on back to alignment, then you won't you find yourself saying no. Right. And that's kind of where I am now, is I'm very quick to say no if it doesn't specifically meet the criteria that I've decided is important to me. So that's how I avoid it, because it's subject to it.
So are you saying if a new business opportunity comes your way, or a new person wants to have a meeting on your calendar, or a new idea pops in your brain, you have some kind of checklist or something that says, hey, does this align with what I want to do? And then if it checks all the boxes, great. If not, you just throw it out. Is that how you go about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that hard? Because I'm guessing a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people in general, they have new ideas, they have new thoughts. And it's like, okay, I'm going to go and take that thought and start taking action on it. But like, is that how your brain works? Or you're like, hey, this thought, let me take it captive and let me really understand, should I even be thinking about this and doing it before you just start taking action on it?
Yeah. So I figured out what's more important to me, right? Like, I want to have the ability to take off for 3-4 days and just goof off with the kids at the beach. I want to be able to, tomorrow I leave for 5 days with Dugout. We got a big thing happening in Georgia. I want to do that. I want to go to 2 or 3 games of the World Series. I want to go on 3 vacations a year with the family and swim with dolphins. You goof off. So it's like these things are more important to me than achieving a next win. Some people, they got this number in their head. I need to be worth $20 million or $50 million. It's like, why? Right. So I have a different currency in my life. So, and that's time. So many of my metrics and many of my boxes are based around time, because if you only had a year left, how many of the conversations you're having right now are relevant? Right. I had an opportunity to see through that lens briefly, and it changes your perspective on things. And I value and measure wealth differently. I have an outstanding network of very close friends. I've traveled to many countries. I've seen many things, and many people know who I am, not me know that. Remember back to what I was saying a minute ago. Like I have genuine relationships with awesome people that provide extraordinary experiences, and I don't take time away from my family to do that. Like, to me, that is wealth. So if there's anything that comes across my plate that diverts from that, probably a pretty quick no, and I move on and I don't worry about it. I don't worry about what it cost me. I worry about what it made me back, right? It saved all my time. Now with Dugout, I mean, Randall came across my path, and with Dugout, and that's how it came to be. Is he had an amazing idea, and he was, one man show in this thing and giving it hell, like 70 grand. He did belly to belly, and he's introverted, like he's an introverted cat for the most part. And so for him to do what he did was outstanding. I build, grow, scale, sell, hustle, that's my vibe. So I was like, this is a good dude. This is a good idea. We are not proficient at the same things, which is perfect for a business partnership, by the way. Anybody with partnerships out there, if 2 people in the same lane, one's not needed, right? So we were very good at different things. And, we're over $40 million in sales of Dugout Mugs. We just got our 3rd Inc. 5000, 3rd year in a row, fastest growing companies in America, from a top line revenue standpoint. So it's like, I saw an opportunity with a person with an idea that's scalable, and I took it. But I took it because it was going to be experiential. It was going to be fun. I could leverage my network. I could do it from home, like all the things that were important to me. And, it's proved to be true. And I haven't taken on another venture until just the end of last year with my golf company. I enjoy golfing. So I have a golf line called Big Golf, distance golf balls. I have my own private label cigar. So I have my own cigar line called the Big Stick. It's fun. It's exciting. It's experiential. I get to go play with my friends. Like it fit my model, right? So if something slides across my plate every 4 to 6 years, I'm okay with that. And in the middle, everything else is a high five and a hard no. So I do own a consulting company that I've had for over a decade. And if things come across that path that I don't want to be a part of, but I know I can help them, and it's a good person that's doing a good thing for the world, I'll jump in and I do consulting for 90 days at a time. And even that's sporadic. They have to fit a certain, set of requirements for me to spend my time and energy and effort to do that.
So I'm hearing time is the most important thing to you. Was it always where you could build businesses where, hey, I'm only building businesses if I can only work this amount of time? Or was it early on, you were in the grind, putting in early hours, staying late, all of that kind of stuff? And then how did you go from transitioning to your business needing you to run to, you know what, I actually own this company and it produces a return without me? Did that happen overnight, or what did that look like?
No, of course that never happens overnight. And there's seasons with a business. And Randall and I remember, we would take turns. Who's on customer service duty today? Calling customers, and who's on, down at the people we contracted to make our mugs, making sure they're not screwing crap up. Like, so there, that was a season of the business. But you always build a business you build where you're going, not where you are, right? And to keep that vision, clearly in front of you. You have to build it and remove yourself. You build, I always tell people, create a system you're not a component of. And that allows you to scale. If you're a big cog in the wheel, like, you can only grow to the extent that you do. And oftentimes you think you're the best at everything because you started this, you did this, whatever, and quite certainly you're not. So you're hindering the growth of the company if you stay in the way too long. You have to be aware. You have to reflect and be aware of your strengths and weaknesses. And at which point do you get the hell out of the way so that this thing can work without you?
Really good. So growing up, Kris, did you have a baseball pitcher that you liked watching?
Well, I was from Florida, so we pretty much got to see the Braves and the three-headed dragon of the Braves forever. What was it? Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavine. Dudes were
That's
nasty.
it.
Yeah.
Gosh,
So they were great. Griffey was my guy, man. That swing was just butter, wasn't it? And the backwards hat and just the vibe, the kid and everything. So I used to love watching Griffey. And my best friend, his guy was Bonds. So we would always like pretend we were Griffey and Bonds, out there in the thing. But pitchers, yeah. I mean, now I get to look at guys like Shohei Ohtani, was just unbelievable. The pitcher and the hitter, like, that guy's next level. I'm a big baseball card guy, so I've been stacking up some of his stuff for about a year, thank God, because now it's getting to a point where people are like going crazy over it.
Sure. All right, so let's turn back the clock. Let's imagine Barry Bonds is hitting against Shohei Ohtani. That'd be a fun matchup, wouldn't it? So let's pretend Shohei wants to own the plate. He's going to give Barry a little chin music. But let's imagine you're pitching against Barry. Give him some chin music. When I mean chin music, Kris, I want you to give our audience some chin music. People listening to this, they're a business owner, they're an entrepreneur, they're a leader, they're a coach. Like, do you have a piece of chin music, like a piece of advice that's not contrarian, that's a little bit different, that you want to leave our listeners with?
Tons, right? Like, I feel like you have to be aware. Number one, get the hell out of the way. You are often in the way of the growth of the business. Now, I'm not saying take your hands off it, because that's when shit can go sideways. But what I am saying is you got to get out of the way, right? And be aware. If you are bad at something and people tell you, ask advice and with the intent of hearing what people have to say, hearing the feedback. And it's not always pleasant to hear. But it's important, because then it allows you to certainly move out of the way. I will also say that doing business with friends and family can be sticky, right? You never want to lose a friend or have bad blood with a family member over something as common as money. Money, a currency, shit, we're printing it. It's not even attached to anything anymore. Like, this is the biggest crock ever. What do you want? Bitcoin, you want barter, we got yen, you got Canadian dollar, like, currencies everywhere. Don't ever ruin a relationship over money. You can learn about people sometimes, but don't lose a relationship over money. A lot of time, another one is, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich? Because sometimes those two things can't coexist. You're so damn busy trying to be right about everything. Sometimes just be wrong and make money. You don't have to be right all the time. And that's a disease that a lot of business owners and people are, they want to be right so bad that they'll forego being wealthy, or another one is, don't let your ego get in the way of making money, which kind of ties into that last one a little bit. Your ego ain't your amigo, as they say. Shit, I could, if I just think go through the experiences and the people and the conversations I've had. There's plenty of that. Also, multitasking is just a real fancy way of screwing up more than one thing at a time. There's often only few things that you do well. And just because you're doing two things at the same time does not mean you should be. So again, dig into that reflection time a little bit more.
I don't know which one of those is my favorite. I like the multitasking one. I think that's really good. As you're reading this down, I'm multitasking and writing it down when I should just listen to the recording, right? So maybe I'm already breaking that rule. But this is really good. So Dugout Mugs.
It's a practice. Literally everything we're talking about, everything you're doing, everything I'm doing, there's plenty of people that are well more successful than I am in many different ways. It's a practice. We're all practicing this stuff on a regular basis. The same reason I practice being grateful when I see something, when something happens in my favor, even little things. The same way I practice reflecting at night before I go to bed, which will help me the next morning when my kids are driving me up a wall. I'll remember how I replied and how that made me feel the night before. And it's like, bro, check yourself. Do it different this time, right? None of us are perfect, but we can get better. And if you're not reflecting and you're not practicing and you're not doing anything with intention and consistency, your ass isn't getting better. And that's what you need to focus on, is getting better and better and better and better. And then when you stop and turn around, you got $65 million in sales behind you, friends everywhere, a life worth writing a freaking book about, married with kids, hanging out on a Monday, wearing pajamas, basically, getting ready to go on a trip tomorrow. What happens is, if you do the right thing with consistency, everything else starts to fall into place. So
this is great. Kris, this has been fantastic. So Dugout Mugs, like I said, I've been using these things, giving away as gifts. If you're listening to this, message us. I will get you one. First 10 people, awesome. I will get you a personalized Dugout mug with our logo on it. So nice. Definitely message us there, because I love these things. I mean, they're amazing, super cool. I got one here, that the Atlanta Braves skyline. I got a Cubs one. I got our personalized Dugout CEO. What else are you guys doing with Dugout Mugs, and where do people go to learn more about that business?
Dugoutmugs.com. Can't miss us. We're everywhere, man. We're I just did some mock-ups for some major 600 location chains. We're in all 30 stadiums. We're in minor league clubs. We're scattered through 7 different countries. Puerto Rico, Mexico, Japan, Australia, Canada, US. So like, it's really cool, man. The Dominican, to see our products going everywhere. We have our new stuff, the stainless mugs, which are spill proof, right? Amazing. And we got a couple new products that are coming out. But yeah, like to see, what was I doing the other day? Oh, I was watching MLB TV, and Kevin Millar pops up about intentional talk, and in the back shelf there's 3 Dugout mugs. Or Snitker doing his thing, and next thing you know, there's the World Series champion mug on his desk. Or the Coens that bought the Mets, and they do a post from their living room, and what do you think's on the shelf in their living room? A Mets set of Dugout mugs. Like governors, presidents, like these things are popping up, and it's really humbling, because me and my partner and a few of our core people, and we've added along the way, but all these people that operated in unison consistently built this badass company that still feels like a mom and pop shop, but we're 8 figures a year in sales. It's crazy.
Kris, this has been great. I don't know how I'm going to summarize this one. But the chin music was probably my favorite part. I need to go back and listen to that a couple times, but this has been so good, Kris. And I appreciate you being a guest on the Dugout CEO.
You bet.
Dugout Nation, wow, blown away with our time with Kris. He dropped the hammer and gave us some great wisdom and truth bombs. What a stud. Here are my big 3 takeaways that I learned from Kris. Number 1, play the long game. Relationships matter. Be quiet and listen to the needs of others. Figure out what others want and help them get that. Be a person of value. Your network equals your net worth. And if you're a person of value that looks out for others' interests above your own and helps other people get what they want, you will ultimately get what you want. Number 2, have an alignment checklist. Each opportunity, whether it's someone that wants to meet with you or go to lunch or have a call or a new product or a service to offer or a new investment opportunity, ask yourself, does it get you closer to what you want? Does it align with your values? If not, give them a high five and a good luck, but be careful what you say yes to, because every time you say yes to something, it means you're saying no to something else. You are more likely to die of indigestion of too many opportunities than starvation of not enough. A famous quote by Andy Stanley. And I think in business, it's the same thing. Saying no is very powerful. In some rapid fire truth bombs, you can be right or you can be rich. It's your choice. People are so busy trying to figure out, how do I prove that I'm right? They're not actively listening and seeking out other people's opinions that might challenge them. Also, have people on your team that are willing to tell you what you don't want to hear. And multitasking, it is the easiest way to mess things up quicker.